just give it a minute. So we wait for people to join. And this is Marinated Goat Rogan Josh, part 2 of our cooking series with Shireen and Moji Masala. We'll get started as people joining. Just give it another 20 seconds or so. And hello, Shireen.
Hi everybody. Thanks for joining. We are continuing with our Rogan Josh. I'm Shireen of Moji Masala, and behind you, in front of me, is JD, my husband and partner. And so what we're doing today is we had marinated this meat. Hopefully you caught it. There's a great video. It's very short, only about 10 minutes, but we marinated this beautiful bone-in goat meat last night. It's been marinating for 24 hours. And all of the masala that's in this beautiful packet here, this is all, an entire packet of masala went into a yogurt olive oil base, and we coated this beautiful goat with it.
Yeah, and the video is on Instagram, so if you want to see it, or Facebook, Moji Masala.
There's some nice tips about marinating, and just, you know, it's really quick and easy, but just a few things make a big difference in the flavor. Just really getting the marinade on there and understanding a lot about the spices, which isn't so obvious when you open the packets. Really kind of took the time to lay out all the spices and what's in them before we ground them up. So you might enjoy that. So now we're into the fun, exciting part, which is making the dish. I will repeat a little bit more about the dish in case you didn't catch it yesterday. But so Rogan Josh is a very traditional Kashmiri, like a braised meat dish or a curry. And it's a very unique blend of spices, and traditionally actually has a very unique preparation where we first fry, kind of like really, really dark brown, fry the onions almost right before they're burnt. Let them cool, grind them in a food processor, and basically make an onion paste. And then we take the full fat yogurt and actually fry the yogurt, which is sort of like a weird concept, but literally pour oil, fry it, and you set that aside, and you prepare that a little bit with some fennel. And then you sort of toast the spices and layer in the onion, layer in the yogurt, layer in more spices, layer in the meat, and so on and so forth. So it's not hard, but it is multi-step, and all those steps make for this very kind of unique, delicious dish. And I love this dish. It's really a celebratory dish, and or it's like a perfect day, like after a big snow, and you really want to cozy up, kind of the way you might like crave a bolognese. Like I really crave Rogan Josh, which is why I picked this dish as today. So now what we've simplified all of this. That whole long conversation I just had is actually not relevant, because for my own self, I was like, how can I have this dish in a way that is just as flavorful but way less time consuming, because I don't have that kind of time. And that's kind of how we came up with the idea of Moji Masala in general. And it really started with this dish, because this is one of those dishes you really only cook, you know, on special occasions. So we've sort of gone around it by using extremely fresh spices that we grind fresh. They're very high quality. And we prepared a blend that would work as a marinade, this is not typically a marinade dish. And the marinating process really helps lock in a lot of that flavor that you would create by doing all the other steps.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how we source some of these spices and the quality and the level of the spices, so that everybody gets understood.
Yeah, absolutely. So we source globally. A lot of spices are very easy to find. What I would call the secondary spices: organic ginger, organic garlic, really high quality Kashmiri, Himalayan pink salt. Those are pretty easy to find, and you know, high quality. Even turmeric now, you can get pretty high quality organic turmeric that's very flavorful. But black cardamom, green cardamom, cloves, a lot of those primary spices that really form the masala, a lot of the flavor people love about Indian food, We really wanted to find places where they were using minimal pesticides, where the agricultural process was done in a very way that preserved the land, preserved the water, in a fair trade way as well. So trying to really find people who are really one-on-one with the farmers and part of the process of helping the farmers grow their crops. So there's so much goes in. It's not as simple as an organic label. There's so many really high quality spices that are not labeled organic. So there's a lot of education involved to understand what makes a high quality, responsibly sourced spice. So that's part of our mission in giving you this wonderful, easy to cook Indian food, is really just also this underlying goal of ours, which is to source responsibly, very high quality, without compromising the flavor. That's another big part. So that's a little bit about that. So now what are we going to do today? Now that we've marinated the meat, it's quite simple. As you can see, there's very few things on the counter here. We've got the marinated meat. We have got a lot of onions. This is 2 medium-sized onions, which if you grind fine like that.
Can you show the side of the Pyrex? So
yeah, I'm going to show. It's about 3 cups. Don't be as obsessed with the cups, and all the onions, obviously are different sizes. I use a very typical medium-sized onion, not too big, not too small. Use a yellow onion. Don't use sweet onion or Spanish onion. It will really dramatically change the flavor. The sweetness of a sweet onion will just overtake a lot of the flavors that are in the masala. Yellow onion is just the classic onion. It forms a really nice base. A very important part of your masala base is the onion. So just stick to yellow onion. If you have a little more, a little less, it's fine. We use a lot of onion. You double the onion what we'd use in other dishes, because we're trying to replicate this really luxurious, thick curry that is created when you typically make Rogan Josh. And that comes from the frying the onion first and then grinding it. That onion paste, which I'm trying to skip that step, or we're adjusting that step by just sauteing a lot of onions. So it takes, it'll take 10 minutes to really brown these really properly and really well. Sometimes I cut them up and I put them in the pan and they're just like way too many. You'll kind of know by using a 6-quart pan. But you really want a full kind of single layer of onions that you're sauteing there. So then after you brown your onions, you kind of add your meat, and you well brown your meat for another 10 minutes. And a lot of the liquid's going to start to come out and cook, and then you can kind of turn the heat down and just simmer it for about anywhere from, I would say, 35 to 45 minutes, depending on your meat. How tender it is, and also your preference for the tenderness of the meat. While that's on there, we're gonna also I'm just gonna show you how to rinse rice. This is I'm using a Thai jasmine rice today because when I have really, really yummy type of curry, like any braised dish, I like jasmine rice, Thai jasmine rice in particular. Thai rice is extremely high quality, and the jasmine rice is a little bit stickier, and I just find it holds the curry really nicely. But if you prefer basmati, go for Indian basmati. The flavor of the rice is so good when you use a Thai rice or an Indian basmati rice, because it's a great crop. You're getting it from the right place, basically, where the flavor is so high. You really don't need. I don't even put oil or salt in my rice. I just literally cook it, give it a good rinse, and cook it on the stove. I mean, historically, in our family, we use rice cookers, but we're just cooking for 3 here. I'm just going to make 1 cup of rice today. And that's the other thing. We are just cooking for 3, and this is 3 pounds of meat. But anything that's left over is just going to go right into the freezer, and it'll literally be a second meal on another cold, snowy day for us. It freezes beautifully. Kind of almost works to marinate it an extra layer after you've cooked it, freeze it. And if you sort of use it within a month, it's really delicious. So don't get overwhelmed by oh my God, 3 pounds, which, believe it or not, there'll be very little left over, even with just the 3 of us. My daughter also loves this. So having said all that, let's get started. We're going to go over to the stove, do the onions, do the meat, and then do the rice. Let's take it from there.
Okay. Blaze French, we miss you. We're waiting to cook with you, Blaze.
So, the other thing I should mention, I keep, this is about 2 cups of water on the side. One of the reasons that we really want to shoot these videos is not to show you the final dish, and the recipes are really straightforward and easy, but there is this initial step where you're browning the onions and browning the meat, where you're really cooking on high heat. And as you're cooking on high heat, the pan can start to burn a little, and some of those onions, some of the edges can start to burn. You just splash little bits of water all along the way to keep it from not burning, but it should not be still like a kind of a pretty dry saute. And so it's just easier to show that rather than just to talk about it. So we're gonna turn our heat on to medium-high. This is a gas stove. Hi. This is a gas stove.
And this is Nora.
Hi, this is Nora. Say hi. You want to help cook? Okay.
I'll come back.
Okay. I'm just going to let that warm up for a second.
And how much sunflower oil are you going to use?
So this, yeah, I'm going to use, so it's measured, it's about 3 tablespoons, but you don't have to be so measured about it. The key is to comfortably coat the entire bottom of your pan. There shouldn't be any dry spots. We have a lot of onions here, so a little bit of a pool of oil in there, not terribly, but well coated, so that your onions, there's a lot of fat in the meat that's going to come out. So we don't want to make it too greasy a dish, but we want to be able to saute properly for 8 to 10 minutes. So I just say a well coated pan if you don't want to measure. And then we tend to use sunflower oil, but basically.
Mom, excuse me, Mom. These are for you because I really, really love you.
Thank you. I really love you too. Thank you so much. Could you paint me something? So we go with sunflower oil, but any high heat, not a tasteless, oil that's good for high heat cooking. So it could be canola oil, sunflower oil, a vegetable oil, grapeseed oil also works great. So this pan's really hot. I think you have to stand here.
But I wanted to help you.
Looks like we have a sous
You're gonna
chef
help me here.
today.
Okay, so here we're gonna put the
And we like the
oil.
sunflower oil because it can handle extremely high heat.
Yeah.
Mom, when can I help you on the pan?
Okay, so there. I think could you move over 1 drop and then you can help me saute? Okay. So give that a minute to warm up. So you always want to do your cool oil in a hot pan. Give that a minute to just shimmer.
Shimmery cheddars.
Yeah. Okay. Nora loves cooking, and she also loves Rogan Josh. Do you love Rogan Josh?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Onions.
that sizzle is what you want.
Onions.
So this is 3 cups, and as you can see, this is a 6-quart pan, a pot, and it's really. Oh no, did you need to close that slider door so the salt isn't there?
Nothing.
So
Mom,
I'm coating the
Mom,
onions.
would you like to add some sauce?
Oh, not yet, sweetie. We're going to saute here. Really make sure your onions are well coated.
Do you need strawberry sauce?
Oh, not yet, sweetie. Now I do, like I said, I have a
Do you
lot
need
of.
cheddars?
That's silly.
Very silly.
Very silly. So this does take about 8 to 10 minutes to get this the right brown. So while I'm sauteing these, I can tell you a little bit about the spices that are going into this. And as you can see, I'm continuously sauteing them. Maybe I'm doing a little bit much, but it really is. You do want to stand over it, and move it around. You don't want it to burn. You want all the sides to cook kind of evenly. So you are kind of moving it around a little bit. We're gonna brown these onions. I think probably a little bit more than what most people are used to when they see a brown onion. It's not really light brown. It's a little darker than that. As you kind of get that, the color is really what tells you. And as you get kind of that more medium dark brown, the flavor gets just gets sort of smokier and sweeter all at the same time.
Give me one of these crabs.
You know what? There's one in the drawer there. Why don't you grab it?
Please give me one of these crabs.
Why don't you talk a little bit about why we started Moji Masala while you're sauteing these onions?
All right. So we started mostly because, as you can see, the minute I try to do anything in the kitchen, I get an assistant. So whatever I do has to be quick, easy. She's only had authentic Kashmiri food, so there's no cheating around the flavor with this one. So I have no time and a very high standard for example, what this dish should taste like. And it really, honestly, she can be my sous chef. That's no, that's too hot. You have to put this one on if you want to touch the pot. Okay.
But You have a glove.
but I'm not touching the pot. When I touch the pot, yeah, I'll use that one. And it took a long time. Indian cooking is really a multi-step process. It's really, again, it's not hard. Most of the dishes are braises. They're very forgiving. And if you have a good recipe, it'll turn out well. But it's, you have to typically fresh grind the spices. And really, historically, we cook them one at a time. Certain ones have to be opened up a little bit more than others. So we really worked hard on these recipes to make them sort of one blend that you can use as one step. And each recipe takes a lot of time and experience and testing to really get right, because the one thing we don't want to give up is the flavor.
Well, not in Moji Masala. The point is that it doesn't take a lot of time.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. So it
Yeah.
took a lot of time to get it into one blend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't take a lot of time. So, for example, you see what's going on in this dish, but our cauliflower dish, we would just, saute some garlic, saute a little tomato, add the spice packet, add the cauliflower, and cook it kind of similar to the way we're cooking it like this.
Excuse me, Mama. I thought you'd stay on work forever, but you didn't.
No.
I really missed you.
So, and that cauliflower dish, so a lot of it has to do with the amount of spices. So we're just adjusting the spices, the way we grind them, allowing certain steps so that you can cook the spices the way they need to be cooked, but still making it really like a one-stop spice solution, one-stop shop for your spices. So that was really the idea. And we're up to 12 packets now, 12 different dishes. One packet is for one dish, and we're hoping that we can kind of continue to get it right for this simplified process.
Excuse me, Mom. Excuse me, Mom. Can I make the bit?
Okay, not right this second.
I thought
Right.
you
So
were.
now they're in that translucent phase. Some of these onions are browning.
Excuse me, Mama.
So we had a good amount of oil in here, so the pan is starting to get a little bit brown, but it's not burning yet, so I don't really need to add the water. If you can maybe focus, see how the pan is burning there.
Mama. Mom, I'm having TV tomorrow.
Okay.
Mama, who can I please do my side? What can I do?
Okay, go ahead, do it. Yeah.
Thank you, Mama.
Do it on that side, okay, sweetie? Don't make too much mess, okay? So now they're turning, I want to show you, you kind of want most of them to be some of this, I don't know if you can see some of these browner ones right there. We're kind of aiming for that, for the whole dish. And as more time elapses, this pan is going to start to get browner, the edges are going to start to get browner, we're going to need the water. But so far, if you do use a little more oil, you don't have to sort of obsessively add the water. If you use less oil, you have to be a little bit more cognizant of not burning. And it smells so good. Even though like these onions take a few minutes and while you're doing it, it's a little zen, honestly, for me. To just sort of keep moves. That's why I think sometimes I move them a little bit more than I really need to, because I'm just wandering a little bit.
Where are you going?
So they're really shrinking. They're very translucent. They smell amazing the way onions do. So this smell, spice is so great, but I get such a craving as soon as I start this process. Okay, bring it over here. I'll do it. All right, it's actually browning pretty fast. We have a gas stove. I don't know what everyone has at home. Most New Yorkers, they have the gas stove. And it's quicker. So I think this is a medium-high setting. As you can see, it's only been like maybe 4 or 5 minutes. And it's browning pretty fast, so we're almost there. So now I am going to add a tad bit of water as soon as JD comes back because you can see there the edges are starting to burn a bit. I don't want that to get all out of hand. And I'm going to just show you, it's not a measured thing. The idea is you just put a splash, kind of more on the edges there. And it's going to get absorbed very quickly because we're cooking on very high heat. But then a lot of that burn, you can just kind of like scrape it off. Really nice color. So this is nice. I like this progress. And you see, the other thing is when you move them around, it's more even. You're gonna get a more evenness as you're cooking. So kind of try to move some of the outer onions to the middle, and move the middle ones to the outer edges to just even out the cooking. While we're talking about pans, I mean, everyone has their preference. I like just a really high quality stainless steel. They sort of tend to veer towards all clad just because they clean so easily afterwards. If anyone's shopping for that. Also, the bases tend to be a little bit wider and they're just easier to saute in because you're really like, as you can see, churning. We're gonna add the meat. We're gonna do a very similar process to what we're doing with this onion. Is just kind of churning it, adding water, making sure that it doesn't stick to the pan. So, some of these edges are starting to burn a little bit, and they're delicious. They're not burnt. They're just starting to add a little more water. This is a really important part. I can't emphasize enough that if your onion is undercooked, you're going to lose so much flavor. You want this nice dark brown color, because it's really starting to sweeten up. You can smell the flavor. You literally can smell it. Like what you smell is what you're going to taste. So I think when you first start the onion, it feels a little more of those, it stings the eye a little bit. It has kind of almost like I'm just using these words, I don't know if they're appropriate, but almost like acidic. And then as you cook it and it gets sweeter and the smell gets amazing. That smell is what you're going to taste, and that's the taste you want as the base of your dish. Okay, so these are pretty. I'm just going to do one more drop here. Give it one more round. Okay. That looks good to me. I didn't need that much water because I used oil. I'm going to bring my meat over. Maybe kind of zoom in on the top there, JD, so they can see the color.
Can everybody see the color?
Alright, I'm going to add this quick. So now, since these can burn quickly. So if you can't find your meat or you're rushing or something's going on.
Or you have a kid in your kitchen who keeps poking you.
Just take it off the heat because the last thing you want is the burnt onion. Okay. So now I did take this out. So now this is goat meat. Goat meat is on the bone. This is from the halal butcher. My mom got it for me and I had frozen it. If you have access to it and you don't love lamb, it's way less gamey. So I feel like a lot of, now you see it's already kind of burning a little bit. I'm just gonna add a little water just to get that sticky. I don't want that to burn. I don't want that flavor in my meat. Smells so good. Oh my god. Don't put so much that you're starting to form like, you're not trying to stew the meat right now. You're trying to literally, brown it. So, but we don't want to lower the heat because there's just a whole flavor that's created by doing this process on high heat. And like, this is marinated in yogurt. So a lot of that water is going to come out of the meat. The water is going to come out of the yogurt. I use a Greek yogurt, so less water is going to come out of that. The fat's going to come out. So a lot of natural liquid is going to form here. Now, if you're using a very dry meat without a lot of water content, and then you use Greek yogurt, and you're using a less fatty meat, like maybe you're using chicken, because you can do this with chicken if you'd like, you're going to get less water. You may have to add a little water after about 10 minutes if not enough water is coming out. So we're going to see how much water comes out of our dish. All right, so
And if you missed yesterday, we did the whole marinating, so you can check out that video on Instagram, our latest Instagram post. I'm also gonna put all three. There'll be one more part to this, so this is part 2 onto YouTube sometime in the next few days. And the full recipe written out, and you can download it and print it, is on our website. So mojimasala.com,
Yes.
and feel free to do that. And thanks so much for joining us, everybody. This is great to see everybody here today.
right. So this is smelling amazing, and I just cannot tell you how many labor-intensive steps we
Just need
skipped
one piece of bread, please.
to get to this part by using our spice blending techniques. And that's the other thing. Like, I of course learned from my mom how to make all these dishes, and I learned it the proper way. And I just started with my favorite dishes. I was not much of a cook. My mother is a great cook, and
Moji, the original Moji
the
that she's
original
talking
Moji.
about.
I think I might have adjusted the volume.
It's okay.
Okay. And so I just, went dish by dish till I kind of like made the dish I craved. So I learned these the proper way, and we took about 2 years to simplify these dishes. But now that we've done it, I will say I haven't made it the way I was originally taught since that time. So it's really a testament to the time saving, and we make it so much more often. I mean, the whole big thing that this started is we didn't have time when our daughter was born at all for cooking, but we were so craving the food. So now we will do this. So on a Monday night like tonight, spend 10 minutes marinating it. Spend an hour really kind of cooking it beginning to end. And the best part about it is there's not a lot of cleanup. It's really...
And we didn't have to spend 45 minutes
there's no
grinding
chopping
spices,
and grinding. You're chopping
measuring
the onion,
spices.
but, you can show that the kitchen, that's our sink. This is our countertop. It's really minimal. That's like also the other thing. Like sometimes cooking can be easy, but when you factor in the prep and cleanup, it's just still time consuming. So we're really trying to. You see how that's all brown there? I'm gonna just. Now let's say it's a little browning a little bit faster than you can get a hold of. Your pan isn't quite right. Okay, I really want to show this part now. Can you zoom in on here? So the liquid, some of the fat's coming out, the water's coming out, the liquid from the yogurt's coming out, and we have so much onion in here. It's not watery. This is just like, it's going to get even thicker. We got this nice, it is a little watery, but it's going to be so beautifully thick by the time we're done with this dish. And that's where the flavor is. So I really want to show you this because you want to make sure you do this process enough till some of the liquid comes out. And then you really want to make sure at the very end, if it's a lot of water came out, let's say you used not a Greek yogurt, just a regular yogurt, and you had a lot of meat with a lot of water retention, it's going to get very watery. It's going to kill all the flavor in your dish. So you want to reduce it all like for a few minutes at the end, because this is really the texture you want. It's thick, it's pretty thick. And that's where the flavor is. It's in the meat, but there's so much flavor here. Now, I think this meat does not have a lot of water. I did use Greek yogurt, so I don't have a ton of liquid coming out. My guess is I'm probably going to have to add a little water before I,
It's lean.
sit it. Yeah, this goat is much leaner than lamb. I think if this were lamb,
Very
there'd be
lean.
a lot more
You'd be
fat
falling off the
content coming
bone
off.
too.
I also know that, this is from the halal butcher. The meat tends to be a little bit tougher. Culturally, that's meat's eaten a little bit tougher. It's kind of considered, it's good to take time to eat your meat. So we'll see how tender this gets. I tend to like it a little bit tender, but I might not be able to get it as tender as I like. It smells so good, you guys. So, and also, I really, like I was explaining yesterday when we were marinating, this is lamb leg on the bone.
Goat leg on the bone.
Sorry, goat leg on the bone. So the butcher chops it with the bone on. It's not boneless. So you can kind of, there's all this flavor got, marinated into the bone. It's going to really add so much flavor to this dish. It's amazing. It's hard to tell with the masala all over and stuff, but it's starting to, we're browning it. It's pretty decent. This is probably the hardest part. So I think this is a big part of what people complain about with Indian cooking. It's like you're really standing over in high heat, but again, not nearly as much with these recipes and these packets as you would be.
Gingerbread cookies.
We're gonna make gingerbread cookies tomorrow.
Gingerbread cookies tomorrow.
Somebody's got her mind on one thing.
Don't tell Mercury, because if you tell Mercury, she won't know we're making it today.
Okay.
So don't tell
I will not tell Mercury anything, I promise.
Okay.
Okay.
Mercury.
Yeah, and so I know this looks like, it's funny. I look at this meat, I think some people said, oh, it's so much meat. I don't make it, and I'm like, wow, I wonder if there'll be any left over. That's how I feel about it. Of course there will be. It's 3 pounds of meat here on the bone. It's not all meat. The bone has weight, obviously. But then I'm like, oh, I get to have leftovers tomorrow, and they actually, they do marinate after you cook it, and when you have it the next day, it is another level of marination. So
Yeah, we wish you guys were living close by and we weren't.
we could share.
Yeah, we could share. That's the best part of Moji
is the best
Masala,
part.
is to sit down,
Just invite your neighbors
enjoy
over.
this food with people.
The other thing that's amazing, I even find this amazing, all these spices that are in here, we have a chicken restar right now. It's basically a chicken curry that uses so many of the same spices, and it is a completely different flavor because the amount you use and the way you cook the dish, and of course the flavor of whatever you're cooking completely alters it. And I crave that at different times and for different reasons.
We also have an aloo rastar, which is amazing too.
Yeah, that one we kind of nailed as far as complete ease, super delicious. The recipe's 1.5 pounds potatoes, and JD eats that on his own, to be honest. I never have to worry about if I'm in the mood or if there's leftovers. It just doesn't, that one doesn't last. So good. Give it a try. Okay, so I'm definitely gonna have to add water here. There's not enough liquid for this to simmer in, and it's fine. It doesn't mean anything. Let me see how much that is first. So no, I don't want to use the full 8 ounces. It's 3/4 of a cup. Actually, that's probably fine, JD. You're right. So this is about 3/4 of a cup. I don't want to overdo it. I don't want it drowning in liquid, and the meat will get, depending on your meat, could get too soft, and then you're overcooking. There really isn't overcooking. Oh, that's the other thing. All you're going to do is get a more and more tender meat. I know some people worry about it being too stringy, and I guess if that bothers you, like with chicken, I understand. But really, this is a braise, so, you're really just trying to, the longer you cook it, the more flavor it gets, and the softer your meat gets. Yeah, this was about, I'm going to use the full amount. So now that was about 3/4 cup I added, but don't go by the measurement. Just look at it. I just want it sitting in, a decent amount of liquid. Even more is going to come out when I put the pot on, but what I don't want is I put the lid on and then 5 minutes later the bottom's burnt, because then it's over. So you have a little more liquid than you need, you just, burn it off at the end. You reduce it at the end. That's the best part about this. So I think that's looking good. I'm going to just get it as all these pieces of meat as in there as I can. And I'm going to turn that to a low. Get my lid. There. Let that be. I'm going to gonna check on it every 5-7 minutes, make sure the bottom isn't burning. It's a gas stove. But that probably needs about 35 to 40 minutes, and it will be, it'll be done. It'll be like ready to serve. So if you want to kind of hang out with it a little longer, I just do want to show you just how to rinse rice properly. There is a blog post on this, so you can just, it's really important to really just clean the rice properly. So use cold water. And just do that. And you give it a good rinse. You can see, you want to do this. Usually takes about 3 times for the water to run clear. As you can see, it's not clear. It's very milky, has a milky look. And do that. And just pour it out like that. You don't have to get every drop out because you're going to do it again.
I was just tasting sprinkles.
Oh, sounds good. Leave room for the Rogan Josh.
Okay.
All right. You can see this is how, rinsing it well ensures that you get a really nice, fluffy, flavorful rice. You don't get the residue and the flavor of the residue, or, it's also just, you got to clean it. Okay. Just one more time should do the trick. And so also the other thing with the rice is a lot of rice packages will say, 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. It's too much. Depends on the rice, obviously. But for basmati rice or jasmine rice, I always do 1 3/4 cup of water per cup. And just gonna do one more. Yep, you see, pretty clear now. Give it one quick rinse. Just do that little test rinse. And if you soak your rice for about 20 minutes, it's super soft. It speeds up the cooking time. I already have the water measured out here. I'm gonna do 1 3/4. You can add a touch of salt or a touch of olive oil if you like. I'm gonna bring this to a boil. You don't have to wait while I cook this, but bring it to a boil, turn it to low, put the lid on for about 15 minutes, and it's done. I use this under the lid just to absorb some of the moisture to get more of a fluffy rice. So that's kind of it. I'm assuming you don't want to hang around for 45 minutes while all of this is cooking.
So we'll be back.
We'll be back. So what we're going to do is, if you're interested to see the final dish or interested to see how we reduce it or how the rice turned out, we're going to come back in about 45 minutes and show you all of that, since it's just sitting on the stove right now and we're not doing anything. And if not, thank you so much for joining. We're recording this, and it will be available on our Instagram whenever you want to watch it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
hope you try it.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.